2 weeks before finals, most students feel the pressure rising like a storm they cannot escape. But top students experience something very different, something quieter, more controlled, almost like they are standing in the eye of that storm, calm while everything else spins around them. And the difference is not intelligence, it is not talent, it is something far more accessible and far more powerful. It is how they prepare when time becomes limited and distractions become louder. Because while others panic and jump randomly between topics, top students slow down, step back, and design their time with intention. They understand that every hour now matters more than ever. So instead of asking how much they can study, they ask what matters most to study. And this single shift changes everything. They begin by mapping out exactly what is left before their exams, not just the days, but the hours, breaking them into clear blocks that serve a purpose. Each block becomes a promise to themselves, a focused mission rather than a vague attempt. And this method, known as time blocking, transforms chaos into structure, giving them control over what once felt overwhelming. But what truly sets them apart is not just planning, it is how they approach their energy, because they know that studying is not just about sitting longer, it is about thinking sharper. They protect their mental energy like a valuable resource, scheduling their hardest subjects during their peak focus hours, often in the morning, when their mind is fresh and distractions are fewer, and they place lighter tasks, like reviewing notes or organizing materials, during times when their energy naturally dips, creating a rhythm that works with their brain instead of against it. And while others burn out trying to do everything at once, top students create cycles, powerful revision cycles that repeat over days, where they first review a topic, then test themselves on it, then revisit it again after a short gap, strengthening their memory each time. This method builds confidence quietly but effectively, turning weak areas into strengths without the stress of last-minute cramming. And yet, there is something even deeper happening beneath all of this structure, something most people never notice. Top students are not just studying for exams, they are training their mindset. They are choosing discipline over emotion, focus over fear, clarity over confusion. And as the days move closer to the finals, while others begin to feel the weight of everything they have not done, top students begin to feel something else entirely, a growing sense of control, a quiet confidence built not overnight, but through consistent, intentional effort. And in that moment, the storm no longer controls them, because they have learned how to stand steady within it. And this is only the beginning of what truly sets them apart. As the countdown to finals moves into its final stretch, something unexpected begins to happen, because this is the moment where even the most disciplined plans are tested, where fatigue quietly creeps in, where motivation begins to fade, and where the difference between average students and top performers becomes even more visible, not in how much they study, but in how they respond when things start to feel difficult. Because top students do not rely on motivation at this stage, they rely on systems they have already built. And one of the most powerful systems they use is intentional revision cycling, where information is not simply reviewed once and forgotten, but revisited strategically, allowing the brain to strengthen connections over time. And this is where many students fall behind, because they mistake repetition for mastery. But top students know that true understanding comes from active recall, from testing themselves without looking at notes, forcing the mind to retrieve information, which strengthens memory far more effectively than passive reading ever could. And yet, just as this process begins to show results, a hidden challenge appears, something subtle but dangerous. The illusion of productivity, where hours are spent highlighting pages, reorganizing notes, or watching endless explanations, giving the feeling of progress without real improvement. And this is where many lose control of their time without even realizing it. But top students recognize this trap early, and they shift their focus back to what truly matters: measurable progress. They ask themselves simple but powerful questions. Can I explain this topic clearly without notes? Can I solve this problem under pressure? Can I recall this concept after a day has passed? And if the answer is no, they know exactly where to direct their effort next. And as the days continue to pass, they begin refining their strategy even further, adjusting their time blocks, identifying weak areas, and sharpening their focus. But here is where the suspense deepens, because even with all these strategies in place, there comes a moment where doubt begins to whisper, a moment where even top students question if they have done enough, if they have prepared well enough. if they will perform when it matters most. And this moment does not come from a lack of preparation. It comes from the weight of expectation. The realization that the outcome is near, and everything now depends on execution. And this is where their final advantage appears. They do not try to eliminate doubt. They learn to move forward with it. They accept uncertainty as part of the process, and instead of letting it paralyze them, they use it as a signal to focus even deeper, to return to their systems, to trust the structure they have built, and in doing so, they transform pressure into clarity, turning what could have been overwhelming into something manageable, something controlled. And as the final days approach, while others begin to panic and scramble for lost time, top students become quieter, more focused, more intentional, because they understand something that most people miss. Success in this moment is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with precision, and this quiet shift is what prepares them for what comes next. As the final days arrive and the exams stand directly ahead, the atmosphere changes in a way that feels almost tangible, because this is no longer the phase of building or even refining. This is the phase of execution. And top students understand that what they do now is not about cramming more information into an already full mind, but about stabilizing everything they have already built. They begin to slow down in a very intentional way, protecting their clarity rather than overwhelming it, focusing on light but effective review, revisiting key concepts, summaries, and mistakes they have already identified, because they know that confidence does not come from learning something new at the last moment. It comes from reinforcing what is already known. And while many students fall into the trap of late-night studying, sacrificing sleep in the hope of gaining a few extra hours, top students take the opposite approach. They protect their rest as if it were part of the exam itself, because they understand that a well-rested mind performs better than an exhausted one. They prioritize sleep, hydration, and simple routines that keep their mind sharp. And this is where their energy management becomes their final advantage, because they are no longer just preparing their knowledge, they are preparing their state of mind, ensuring that when the moment arrives, they are calm, focused, and ready to perform. And as they walk into the exam room, something remarkable happens. The anxiety that once felt overwhelming is replaced by a quiet sense of control. Not because the exam is easy, but because they have trained themselves to handle it. They read questions carefully, manage their time within the test, just as they did during their preparation, and approach each problem with clarity instead of panic. And even when they encounter difficult questions, they do not freeze. They move forward strategically, answering what they know first, returning later with a clearer perspective. And this ability to stay composed under pressure becomes the true difference maker, because in that moment, knowledge alone is not enough. It is the ability to access that knowledge effectively that determines the outcome. And as the exam ends and they step out, they do not feel the same regret or uncertainty that others often experience. They feel a sense of completion, knowing they executed their plan, and to the best of their ability. And this is the deeper lesson behind everything. Top students are not defined by perfection. They are defined by preparation, by consistency, by their ability to manage time, energy, and focus when it matters most. And this is something anyone can learn, something anyone can apply starting today. Because the strategies they use are not hidden secrets, they are deliberate choices repeated over time. And if you begin to adopt even a few of these habits, you will start to see the difference in how you study, how you think, and how you perform. And that is where real transformation begins. So if you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.